The advice and opinions expressed by Dr. Granpeesheh and her guests are meant solely as suggestion and should not be in any way construed as child-specific advice.
Dr. Doreen Granpeesheh is the
Dr. Doreen is an expert in autism.
Doreen Granpeesheh.
Dr. Granpeesheh.
Dr. Doreen Granpeesheh.
Dr. Doreen Granpeesheh is a visionary in the field of autism. Now you can ask her questions on Ask Dr. Doreen. First question is kind of long. I have 3 children on the spectrum, and I wish the world could see just one of our days to understand how different my kids are from each other. My 11-year-old is high functioning. He is in regular school, great grades, but he has high sensory needs. He has to have a fidget in his hands at all times or he falls apart and can't concentrate. We had to have it written into his IEP. My 7-year-old is sound sensitive. It's like normal sound is turned up to 11 for her. She wears headphones everywhere, and I worry, what is she missing out on? My youngest is 4. He needs to rock constantly or be in movement. I worry about life for all of them. What happens when my 11-year-old needs to take the SATs to go to college? Are they going to let him have a fidget during the test? Is my daughter going to be sentenced to not hearing? And for my littlest, how on earth is he going to be able to go to kindergarten next year when he is incapable of being still for 3 seconds? I feel like I have worked hard to make our lives function, but it's all a very precarious house of cards, and I wonder what happens if I die. Which I just want to hug this parent because I think that's a lot of what parents think. Like, okay, we've got this on some sort of an even keel, but first of all, what happens if something upsets that, and what happens if I die?
Yeah. I mean, it's, as any parent will attest, it's difficult, right? And we worry about everything with our children, but especially if you're dealing with 3 special needs children and they each have different needs, which is, so common in autism. I guess, first of all, I guess giving you, as Shannon would say, an air hug, because good Lord, what you're dealing with is unique and amazing. And I can only imagine all the different things you worry about. But I would say, you've done a tremendous job of managing things up to this point. Not everybody deals with 3 different children with special needs. And if you really are just concerned about kind of what will happen when you're no longer around, then like all parents, I think you have to find trustees. You have to find people who are willing to be guardians. You have to set up, your will and make sure that things are as taken care of as possible, right? I mean, we never. Even parents of typically developing kids, everybody always worries, and it's always hard to find the right person who's willing to say, okay, in case you're not here, I'm going to step in. And sometimes it's going to be 2 or 3 people, cousins, siblings, friends, etc., and or spouse, of course, or anyone who you feel would be the right person. As they say, it takes a village. And so if you can do that, because I think that does help a little bit. I remember when my kids were young and I kind of set up a will and trust, and it was so difficult just coming to the decision of what would happen if I'm not there. Is so sad and so difficult to choose the right people and then ask them and they agree and all of these things, right? And people change and relationships change. And so you have to keep that updated, actually, because your relationship with those folks might change. And as your children grow up, things change. So, but I do think it's important to do that because it does give you a little bit of a sense of relief. And then, of course, going forward, you have to continue to build the village of people who are helping for your children right now. I do want to say, just in response to, well, your 11-year-old, yes, they will make accommodations in testing. I guess what I want to tell you from someone who's been in the field for over 40 years, things have changed a lot and they will continue to change. So hopefully by the time your kids are adults, there will be a much more acceptance and many more accommodations available to our kids. So not only will your 11-year-old, which I'm so glad to hear that your 11-year-old is so high functioning, that your biggest worry is, can they take their sensory fidget toy when they test for college? So that's wonderful.
Yeah.
Regarding your 7-year-old daughter, by the way, there are now headphones where you can actually turn on and off the external noises. So in other words, she can actually, there are buttons on the headphones where you can hear conversation even if you keep your headphone on. It allows you to hear some of the external noises, but it blocks the overall sounds that are coming in. So all the new Apple stuff is like that, and there are lots of other headphones that allow you to have either complete silence or you can hear some of it, but it's muffled. So you don't need to worry about what she's missing out, because I do believe that headphones for a lot of our kids are very helpful. Of course, you can also go ahead and teach her that when she is in conversation, let's say, it would be good to remove the headphones, So these are all shaping things. And by the way, in regards to sensory issues, they do change over time. Sometimes our kids actually become much more acclimated and comfortable with sensory input. And so as the child ages, those sensory input areas become less hurtful or drastic, and our kids are able to tolerate them more. And then finally, regarding your 4-year-old, I've always found it very interesting that body rocking is a very calming thing, because it activates the parasympathetic nervous system. So, maybe you can also have a rocking chair for the 4-year-old in his room, and allow him to go there and do that, so that the rest of the time he doesn't need to body rock as much. This is kind of like sensory integration in a sense. When we put our kids on a sensory diet, in between lessons, we give them sensory activities to calm them down, so that during the lesson they can be calmer and can pay attention. So there's a lot to do currently, but I do really recommend that you kind of start building that village around you if you haven't already, because this is a lot to deal with for one person.
Don't forget, you can watch Ask Dr. Doreen live every Tuesday morning at 10 a.m. Pacific time. We hope to see you there.